Welcome to practice. I want you to start with first thing, take a blanket. You're going to unfold the whole thing. So you want the whole blanket on the ground and roll it up into a noodle. Okay, so it doesn't have to be the longest blanket, but you do want to unfold it so you're getting the most out of this so that you can have this as a support for your ankles and your hips. So set up your bolster on top of a block. I have my block at the lowest setting. You can have it higher. You might find that it provides you with a little more kind of tender care for opening the heart. If it's higher up, that makes it easier. If it's lower, it will give you a little more chest opening. Okay? Blanket on top in a quarter fold. Sit in front of your bolster. The short end is next to the sacrum. And you have a sandbag or a bag of weight nearby. Okay? All right, so let's take our noodle. Okay, so we're going to bring the soles of the feet to each other, and you're going to wrap the blanket noodle around the tops of the feet like you've done with the belt before. But the difference is we're not going to pull the back at all. So when I kind of swaddle my lower leg bones, what I'm going to encourage you to do is take the ends of the blanket and you're going to push them under your hips. Okay, so what I'm doing is with the end, okay, I'm folding it in, right? Think about folding in a flag, and you're tucking them in. I don't want you to feel like you have to bring the blanket under your thigh, like the thicker part of the thigh, but under the hips, okay? And then as you hold the bolster right next to your sacrum, you lower back, and you might find that the legs are in this kind of precarious position of do I go down or do I try to fly? So, as this is oftentimes called butterfly pose, the energy here is I'm pushing my feet into the swaddle, the blanket swaddle, and as I lower back, I think your sandbag will help you a lot on this. So, start to anchor the movement of your breathing muscles, the movement of the lung energy down to the diaphragm by adding the sandbag from the heart to the belly. Now, if you feel like you still need a little support under the legs, remember your options are feel where that blanket is and see where it can tuck under you. And if you decide, I don't really like it under my hips, it's just too challenging, you could wad it a little bit lower under the thighs. Yeah, that feels a little better for me. Okay, but pull it kind of snug on the ankles. It's a little different delivery than the belt. I like variations. And if you decide I want to use my belt, to heck with it, you can always shift. But first things first, sandbag from heart to belly, apply the pressure, and then let your arms relax open, the shoulders releasing back, and the elbows heavy. Feeling where you can allow the arms to slowly open the chest. And as the arms open out, we receive the breath. And as we exhale, feeling center of the chest down to the belly, beginning to feel the center of gravity in the pelvis. Now, this may be a new setup for you with the blanket, right? There's some positives and there's some uncertainty about the support it offers. So, feeling when the heels, right, your feet really do apply some pressure together. Relax the toes and allow the legs to splay out, stretching the hips. And once there's some centering in the pelvis, feeling the movement of the breath down to the belly. Belly expands. And as you exhale, belly draws towards the spine and up to the heart. right? The diaphragm moves that direction. So even though you feel diaphragmatic motion down, or maybe you don't necessarily feel the diaphragm, but you can feel the pathway of the breath as the belly expands. And as you out breath, it draws down naturally and it moves up towards the heart again. Well, the diaphragm motion goes to the base of the heart. Now, the key here would be arms resting, shoulders relaxing back. Now bring the left arm out, up off the floor, stretch that arm straight behind you. Just get a feeling, maybe your eyes closed so that you can sense the difference in the volume in the arms, in the shoulders, in the muscles. Right, one is open, one is extending. And then add that right arm to reach back towards the left. That seems to be where they think they should go, where the muscle memory is. You could let them move apart, back together-ish, close. And just feeling where the right arm tries to reach a little further. And then the left arm, the heat into the arms. And then let the rib cage open as the arms spread back out, lowering down the arms besides the hips, and then we'll start to bring the knees to point up. Now slide the feet in towards your seat, and moving the sandbag aside, we're going to get a ball, and we're going to place it. Now this is kind of funny because you got this blanket here, so you could actually use that instead of the ball for this part of the support. I'm just used to using the ball. Okay, so I'm going to try it, just kind of see as I cross my right ankle to the left knee, see what it feels like with the blanket, which is actually pretty much similar to what the ball would be support. Depends on how long your blanket is, if it is indeed this high up under the hip. But you could actually add the ball as well and just feel what is better is support anchoring into the upper outer left hip area, upper outer thigh, and kind of think of the thigh. I mean, I don't usually think of it as a tube, but think of it as a tube. And at the end of it, you want the support of the blanket or the ball. And the bottom foot, the left foot is turned out, but it's not positionally pressing straight down the sole. And the left hand holds the right knee, and the right arm actually sways open to the side and relaxes the hand. And as your head centers or turns a little to the right, just feeling into that right hip. And sequence-wise, we're going to be focusing on front space, hip spaces, and then we're going to do quite a bit of prone work before we get into our sage series. So let this openness at the front and then the medley of movement in the abdominals and the hips kind of feel what's positive about these areas, what feels like it's, kind of could use some circulation support, feels maybe a little bit stagnant. Breathing and let go of the right knee, and then let's take the ball for sure. And we're going to roll it under the right rear. Now, if you got that blanket kind of there, just put the ball to that right rear. And as you get up on the ball, you can uncross the right foot from the left knee and feeling that you're kind of tipping on the side. So as the sacrum centered, and then you're over to the glute, right to the border. And hips are moving kind of in tandem, right? Even though you have two, right? They kind of share a pelvis. They don't get two. You can have, they have to share the pelvis and the motion of the pelvis. So feeling when you push onto that ball on the right side, then it's just sliding the skin across, just drawing fluid into these tighter areas, that dermal neural layer. And as you're moving into the pelvis motion, feel as you slide across, feel where the pressure is with the ball. Don't lose the traction. I think that's interesting. Like there's a lot of curve in this part of the body and the bones. So finding the traction to each end is really going to use that lower abdominal area significantly more than we probably give this action credit for, the exercise credit to doing work into the lower belly. So you just kind of go along for the ride, just side to side motion, just movement. And then as I glide back to the left, I just lower down off the ball, tip the knees to the left side. I'm going to purposely move the ball a little bit to the upper outer right thigh. I like to be kind of right on my bolster, so I'm going to scoot my spine back. Left foot crosses over to the right knee, and then let the knees tip to the right. Now, if you used the blanket last time to the hip, you can always exchange the blanket for the ball, right? Or vice versa. So as I lean in, I reach to the left knee and I hold. And the arm can stretch open or they can go straight back. It's entirely up to you. But feel the right foot gently turned out. Doesn't need to be some sort of stretch into the foot, but it is stretching into the ankle a bit, right? It's working with its mobility. So if you got a cranky foot or you've got something going on that's been pulled, you might not be feeling the side of the foot. You might have the sole of the foot down. Some people do that. They're kind of guarding any injury or scar tissue. So do what feels okay for you, of course. I like to lead how I'm instructed to lead the sequencing, but you find what's good for you in the moment. And then perhaps there's sensation in the left hip. As you're holding the left knee, guide the left leg across and breathe. If you feel like you kind of lose some of your footing on the right foot, that's good, right? You kind of slide into the stretch of the left hip. Lose your footing. Feel how you can motion that left knee a little bit towards you, a little bit across. Breathing. Now let go of the knee and come back center. Ball move to the left rear. And then as we push into that ball, we are using, sometimes I think pushing oftentimes with my feet or my hands, but see if you can motion across the ball. So I've got the ball to the left glute and it is in the, it's on the border. So it's not necessarily right in the center of my pelvis, right? It's going to be to rear, and as I roll, I kind of favor going to the glute medius. You're not going to miss it, okay? Because the ball is probably larger than a tennis ball, and I don't think you miss it with a tennis ball either, because it kind of suctions into the area that needs it. Sometimes you don't even have to think about it. You just put the ball under and you just roll. Pressure plus movement, right, equals massage. So get a feel of the movement and the glide. I imagine each side has some similarities with your ability to roll and some differences with sensation, or maybe it's pretty even some days, okay? It's a new day, it could be even in this area, different than the last time. But as you're moving, see if you can relax your attempt to try to get a lot of twist here. I don't want us to get a lot of twisting action right now as we're getting ready to do some healing work for our lower back, our back muscles, our ribs. So just get a feel of crossing on the ball, the glute zone, and the arms can relax down and feeling the breath. Don't forget that. That's an element of importance here. But as we're inhaling and exhaling, feel that sway into the hips. Okay, and now as you glide across the next time, you're going to just simply take the ball, place it center of the thighs or the knees. If you need to scoot back on the bolster, do so, and Squeeze the ball. Now, if you don't have a ball, you can use a block at the narrow side. That's okay. Okay, ball is a little better because it's a responsive surface, right? You can actually squeeze it and activate the thighs a little different because it will respond when you don't squeeze it, right? You relax. So take a few squeezes of the ball, maybe 3 more. Squeeze and release. Now, I like the ball to be right between the knees versus the adductors, like higher, because those bones kind of push in, right? That you can actually feel the force of them. So find that resistance with the bones, squeezing the ball and relax. Okay, ball goes to the side yard, and then we're gonna roll to the side, any side will do, and we're gonna set up for crocodile or surfboard. Toss your blanket back and the block over to the side, and all you're gonna need is your noodle. And what I'm gonna encourage, I don't wanna come up to the knees so everyone is safe on their knee angle, but let's take it, I knew this would happen, we're gonna have to just toss out the noodle here, fold it together. All right. And, okay, I'm behind here. Okay, and then you're gonna fold it up and you're gonna make a little bit smaller of a noodle. Okay, this will be worth it. Okay, it doesn't have to be so perfect with the folding, but I do want you to roll it up again so that now, all right, you have this, it's a little smaller, a little shorter, and you're gonna place this under the top of the foot here, right? So when you're forward folding, and you don't have to have it this long, but I don't want you to have to push into the wall too much here. So you're going to bring your knees on the other side. If you need a blanket here, place it under your knees. That's perfect for some of us. But have your sandbag nearby, okay? Kind of put it up on its side. And then you're going to go forward, down, okay? And then as you're extending, with your breath flow this way, okay, your breath's gonna flow how it always has, but the energy in the body is shifting. So I'm gonna push my blanket roll a little bit down to the top of the foot, okay? It's pretty subtle. I don't want the blanket roll to be too high. I don't want you to have your heels up in towards your rear, but to the top of the foot. And then we'll take our sandbag, be careful here with your back muscles, pull it across, and you're gonna have the sandbag on the lower back. So give yourself a little bit of time to get that sand to the lower back. I like to have my sand actually right around my tailbone. So it's kind of more on my seat than it is on my back muscles. Some schools, I've seen 2 different schools have different philosophies about the spine on this one. So the last one I was training with, it was this way, lengthwise. And then with my teacher recently, it's across. So that's kind of what I'm going to trust. My PT is good. I'm going to trust her. So some yoga trainings kind of play around with it. It's not to be played with. So feel where the back has that little bit of traction. And then with your blanket fold, just wad it up. You can also put a block under your blanket if it's pretty low. And now that you're already committed, okay, forehead down on the blanket. If this is really chest uncomfortable, you might go a little farther forward on the bolster so it's not pushing in your chest so much. But forehead down, elbows out, relax the shoulders, and let's give ourselves a good 15 or so breaths here just to let the shoulders kind of melt out from the spine. Some people do this with the arms down by the sides, palms open. And I like to have my arms just out in more of a goalpost position. So you decide. This is kind of setting us up for some back care. So first just kind of feel where that sandbag supports you. If you're sand free, that's fine. Feel where your feet touch on the blanket. Relax the knees. Make sure the knees are far enough out so the legs are not touching. They're a little bit apart. And for some people, farther out is better on the back. So it doesn't need to be a frog pose, but You want to feel that your back is comfortable. Okay, let's just breathe for a few more rounds of breath. Feel your belly push into the bolster. Exhale, relax. Now nudge the sand off to the side. Bring your elbows down by the sides. Feel the tops of the feet rest down. Come into Sphinx pose, lifting up through your chin, right? Feeling movement of your jaw forwards. Okay, and then slide your hands down under the shoulders, fingers spread open, elbows out to the side. And then as you press, feel how this responds in your wrists. So I'm going to move my hands out a little bit farther out from the bolster, coming into up dog, stretching through the front spine. Such a good one. So if you feel the total pressure in lower back, right, feel what it's like to have the knees far apart. Of course, you have to be realistic. You don't want to be a frog here, but feel the knees far apart. And then you're going to toes under. So no knee pressure now coming up. Toes under. Okay, lower down the chest. Bring your hands a little closer in. And then as you lift the chest up, we're going to come back to downward dog. So that's a big move, right? So the reason I want us to try for that is to not have pressure on the kneecap. So we push back, hands press the floor away. It might feel like kind of a big dog because you have the hands far forward from the feet. It's kind of the longest dog that you could create. And then when you're reaching back with the feet, right, hands and feet have an interesting distribution here. So the roots of the toes, the heel stretching back, the hands pressing the floor away. Breathe. Okay, now walk your hands back to your feet and then maybe push the blanket forward. Now, when we're here in forward fold, we're going to bend the knees so that we can kind of catch our abdomen, right? The abdomen kind of towards the legs. And then give yourself that experience of forward folding here. So what I like is to hold my elbows and give that traction. Okay, some of you might prefer holding the legs or touching down to the blanket. Now, at some point, we are going to unroll the blanket even more, okay? So it's not going to be such a noodle. So you might have the blanket so you can step up on it. The feet step up. And this, to me, is not enough height to get enough kind of calf stretch. So you might, if you feel okay with your blood pressure right now, take a moment and get that blanket, kind of what you're used to with your blanket, quarter fold, careful lifting up with your back, but take that quarter fold so that you can definitely now get your feet up on it and get a little caffeinated. So feet lift up, heels down, stretching out the calves. Take your bolster, lift it up, and then reaching through your arms, okay? Feel that legs reach, arms reach. Yeah, if anyone does any kind of rolling their feet, right, with a ball, I did learn yesterday in a class that when you use a blanket under the ball, it's a little better to get all the little segments of the bottom of your foot massage. So that was a new thing that I experienced and agreed with. So I've always kind of rolled my foot with a ball just on the floor, but the blanket it enhances the sensation. Okay. All right, now lower down the bolster. Take care to walk off the blanket if you're on it. And then we're going to go back on forward, on down, hands, walk it out, knees come down. And then I want you to stretch forward so you're in that up dog again. You're reaching the chest forward. You're stretching through the front of the spine, lifting. Okay. And then as you come back to table, take a block under each hand. And I would put them up so they point as high as they go. The tallest setting, that would be the best here. And then step the right foot to the top right corner of your bolster. Now this for me I don't go to the top of the bolster because I can't reach that far. But you might have that right foot turned out so that you're stretching the left thigh, the top of the thigh on the bolster and reaching the chest back up. Okay, now you can take your blocks back besides your right leg and inside to the side of the bolster on the left side, or you can have the knee pointing out. I want you just to feel the quad, the top of the back thigh stretching. Breathe. And now move your tail back and then bring the right knee beside the left and switch sides. Left foot steps to the top left side of the mat, well, to the left, turning it out. Blocks can be in, or if you decide you don't want your foot turned out that much, you can bring the left foot next to the bolster. But the main focus here is the sensation of the thigh that's touching to the bolster. Some people put the knee on the bolster. I just find that I want to keep it kind of simple with the structure of the leg, right? That leg, front of the leg kind of as that curve. I like to think of the curves and the contours of the body on this one. Kind of from the thigh, the knee through the thigh to the hip. Breathe. And just feeling where the arch is through the back muscles. Yes, there's resistance with the hands on the blocks, I realize that. But kind of feeling when you have that heat that's moving into the arms, the shoulders. Okay, let your heart tip down. Move the left knee back. And then we're going to take the bolster forward, off of the blocks we go, forward with the bolster across the mat horizontal. Bring your hands on top of the bolster, both reaching out wide. Chest stretches downwards, head center. Maybe your head is on a block if this just feels a little too precarious for your neck, right? And some of us might not find this a good one. So if I put a block under my forehead at the low setting, I like that. Like about the hairline, maybe a little bit below. Okay, so feeling that reach in the arms, maybe moving the ribs a little side to side. Breathe. Now as you push into your hands, lift your head up and then walk your hands back under the shoulders, round your back into cat pose, chin to chest, tail drawing under. Inhale, arching, chest slightly forward, lifting. Maybe just your face. Okay, maybe the chest, it's a little much, but when we articulate, alternating chin towards chest, spine round. In breath, arch the spine. Out breath, rounding. Last one. Okay, now kind of feel where the ribs sensation is, even though you don't have ribs on the arms, how this movement of rounding kind of brings that heat into the arm, okay, because you're pushing. Now, when you cycle back through what you have to cycle through to get out, you have to somehow arch. You're going to take your bolster and we're going to set up for almost for side stairs. I want you to use the blanket though this time under your hips. You're going to push the blanket in next to the bolster so that your hip is on it. Okay. Now, if you still got a noodle and you're still trying to unfold the blanket, take your time. Just settle in so that the thigh is lifted. And then we got our bolster across the mat. We pull it inwards so it's right next to our hip. And then this blanket, you can do a couple things because you do want it to be higher than this quarter fold. You want to have it maybe as high as the bolster. And some people, this is going to be too low because they'll fold it and then the weight of your head's going to push and it will just not be supportive on the neck. So what I recommend, if that's the case for you, is you'll have a block under your blanket. But you know, that's pretty high with a blanket. So you kind of have to try a little bit here and there, but have a block on the other side. But with that blanket folded up, I'm going to see if this height will work for me. I'm going to use the ball under the right knee. And before you lie into it, hold on, before you lie into it, I'm almost tempted to have both hands on the bolster and take that turn through the ribs, okay? Now, if this is too jacked up in your left shoulder, because mine is kind of going up here, what I'm going to do is kind of lean down onto the ground with my hands, because that feels a little better through my back, and turn. So I want you to get a feel that when you're twisting, that you're moving from the back of the pelvis, sacrum, everything's moving together, right? Sacrum is a joint of stability, but when we're in a twist, we want to let the pelvis flow with the movement of the ribs. We don't want to lock it. Okay. No lock on the pelvis. Okay. The pelvis is everything, right? So when we turn, ball underneath, okay, hands on floor, just give a few more moments of feeling hands, I think down on the ground is a little better for your shoulder joint here. Okay, now you've got some rotation, so you're going to get ready to lean on your left side. So as you lower down, and if you got a sandbag, you're going to add that as well. You're going to lean first into the left side, take your sandbag. I've seen some people lately like this one really low on the thigh. I would just be careful about sensations in the knee, right? So I don't think this would hurt the knee, but for some it might just put too much pressure. Okay, so finding if you like the sand on the hip, if you like the sand lengthwise down the side, but as you add the weight into the hip, the right arm stretches overhead and settles down onto a block near you. A block or a chair, they both work great. And just relaxing the weight of your head down. Breathing. You're beginning to feel the stretch into the ribs. Let the weight of your head relax. You don't have to purposely push it into the blanket, but that might be the way you start. Like just giving yourself that message, I can just relax my head, my jaw. Now let that right arm release down to the side or feel that counter spin through the chest, maybe rolling a little bit on the back of your head. Just be careful you don't roll off the blanket all of a sudden. You know, you might have to just feel the texture, feel the movement on the back of the skull. And then as you turn to the left again, right, to come up, you came down that way. you're gonna take a sleeping sage pose, and I would move the sand off so you don't feel so kind of crammed up in the hip here with that pressure when you twist. So the ball goes away and we just turn. Now, I imagine some of us might not favor the blanket under the hip necessarily on the sleeping sage. I'm just giving it a try because I like to change things up and I see it taught all ways. So if you decide, okay, I'll leave this blanket under my left hip, that's fine, my left thigh. But I kind of like the blanket on top of the bolster. So I'm going to put a block under my bolster at the lowest setting and then just add my blanket, kind of pull it down. So it's a little bit more cozy for my neck, right? Now this might feel like, oh, I brought the bolster up. Now I can just twist and relax in the twist. So kind of feel that ringing out from the back of the pelvis. This is a perfect one to feel how the pelvis moves into the twist, doesn't it? And you could have the legs stacked, like in the fetal position. Some people prefer this variation, legs stacked. Right? If that feels better for your pelvis and your ribs and your back, take that option, or have the left foot touching the right thigh, stretching into the hip. Just feel a few more rounds of breath. We're combining the sage poses together. Okay, now let's kind of wrap the rib cage with a sandbag next. So we're going to place our hands down to push to come up, and we'll turn the bolster across the mat, horizontal, and have I would say, keep the height under your head of just a blanket, no block, because that could be a little bit too much. I don't know, it feels a little bit more forceful pressure than a blanket. So you could wad it up so it's higher. I'm going to keep mine in a low fold and see how it goes. The place that you sometimes need the attention is the pelvis to do the horizontal chest opener. It's not necessarily the neck. So when you turn and you already have this blanket under your seat, it's like, huh, this might even be easier than we used with the block under the seat when we used to do that. So when I sit, I can feel kind of the pelvis, a little bit of a rounding pattern in my back. What I really want to work on is be right up to that bolster. Okay, add a sandbag carefully across the ribs. And if you need to come back first and then add the sandbag, do that. So you might find like this almost feels like you're going into an inversion. Okay, if you have an aversion to it, then don't add the sand, right? You could have the sand maybe not on the ribs, but on the belly, right? And let the chest be free. Yeah, I like that actually. Walk the feet in towards your seat. Variation is here and or across the ribs, maybe lower ribs. Just stretch open in the breathing muscles here in the ribs. And if there is an attention to pressure on the back, like you're feeling that's the compressive angle, what I recommend is add a block like we used to do, right? Add a block. You might find, oh, that's going to be just too easy. It's kind of nice. Okay, it kind of opens up the interesting part is how it applies to your back is it looks a little bit more, I don't know, more curved, but it helps the back out so much. It lets us know how good chest openers and back bends or core lengtheners are for our back, right? It kind of informs that, right? The front of the spine opening up. So take a few breaths here. Sand here or nothing. Don't feel like you have to squeeze your core in. Just let it relax. Just arms open, breathing. a few more breaths here. Okay, now shifting to the second side, moving a block away if you have that first, sand first and then block if you have both. And then as you're rolling, you can feel the arch detail in the back of the pelvis. You can even tell when you're talking in this, the work in the rib cage and the breathing muscles. So when I roll, I have my knees bending, and then I roll to the right, and then I walk into the twist. So here's what I'm going to offer when I take the turn. This is going to be getting ready for the side sage pose, which is this one, right? Okay, that's not the complete pose, but it gives you the direction. So kind of prep your prop so that you can lean into it when it's time. Have a block on the other side of your blanket. Have a fold, like a pretty high folded blanket, maybe as high as your bolster. And as the hands are on the floor, you could have your ball under the inner side of that left knee. And then as you rotate, feeling this side of the back of the pelvis turning. Now, I think the challenge here with the blanket is sometimes your left hip hikes up. So I want you to focus on this middle flexibility, okay? Because you're thoracic, right? That has that ability to rotate and to combine with stretching and circulating in the kidneys, right? So nice. So like below that last rib, above the pelvis, sits the kidney on each side. So as I turn, I can feel my hands pushing. I can feel that twist through the core. Breathe. And now with that coming into side sage, you're going to just turn to the left. And then as you lean down to that right side, take your sandbag, place it on that outer left hip. Remember, you get to decide how high it goes or if it's lengthwise on the side. Turn down towards the knee. And if the knee is really sensitive, I would say for certain use the ball under it. Or if you don't have a ball, a block. Okay? Now blanket under the side of your head so you can lean into it. If it's not enough height, add a block under the blanket. And then stretching overhead with that left arm reaching. Okay, so get a feel when you're reaching with the upper arm, right? That pulley in the shoulder, and the right arm is completely relaxed. And you don't have your right arm trying anything but letting go. So if that means you're kind of squishing it and you need more height under your head, you add the block, right? And I'd say block under the blanket, not under, right directly under your head. So you have some padding. But as you're leaning, feel that reach of the arm, breathing slow. Just relaxing your head into the blanket. And there might be some little bit of sensation safari going on. That's what I like to call it. When I can associate with the sensations in the stretch or the pose. And some of us, it's going to be like in the joint, right? So if it's in the shoulder joint, move the arm down, right? We don't want to cause, it's okay to cause sensation and stretch, but if it just pools there and you're getting uncomfortable, just lower your arm down. There's no need to stress it out anymore. Feeling the side of your head, feeling the weight of your head down onto the blanket, breathing and sensing the ribs stretching with the breath. Relax the side of the heart. Okay, now continue the movement of the ribs, right? It doesn't stop here with the side movement, whether your arm is overhead or down by the side. You're gonna move your sand off of your hip and then try to work through the ribs. I caught myself there. I was kind of pulling from my neck to twist. So feel what's on the bolster. Okay, I got my ribs. I mean, they're just a bigger mass than my neck to move anyway, but we all have our habits of moving from our neck, right? That's just typical of humans. So move the ball away from under the knee. And then as you turn, there's no rush, you're gonna rotate and then take a block across the mat horizontal, turn it to its lowest setting, pivot the bolster up on top, okay? And then your blanket across the short end of the bolster, although I tend to pull the blanket down. And then when I take that twist, I can feel this movement out of the back of my pelvis. My sandbag happens to be on my right thigh, on my inner thigh, and I kind of like this. Sometimes I teach it this way, to ground through the right thigh. You know, if you were doing a seated twist, like sitting on the bolster, you would probably ground that thigh anyway. So that's an option. If it feels like it's too much of a pull anyway, good or bad, right? You be the decider. But as you lower down, your head turns to the left. You relax your arms, your ribs, and come into the rotation, come into the breath. Breathing slow. You know, slide the hands in under the shoulders, come on up, push. And now we're gonna come into inversions. So blanket goes to the back. We're gonna pivot the bolster across the mat and blocks go to the side. So I think the height of the lift on your head should be, it should be a little bit. I mean, I think when I went to training, we did use a little more blanket height than we used to use, I noticed. So you don't have to have no blanket. It kind of depends on how does your upper, your neck area feel. How does it, you have to just feel. Like that's the thing. We're trying to learn how to feel to heal. So if you can't feel, it's hard to heal. So when you come off of the blanket that's under your seat, you don't need it, but you are going to need your belt. So bolster center. And as you come back, you're going to sit up on your bolster. Okay. You're going to lower back, knees up, and be on the edge of the center of the bolster. This could be more important. Okay, we definitely talked a lot about this for the lumbars. So it's chunky vertebrae, right? You want it to be plump vertebrae. You want to keep them as plump as you can, as long as you can, as things dehydrate in the body, right? So I want to be at the edge, and I like to get a feel when I'm here. Sometimes put the feet down first, and then just kind of feel. Okay, my seat is on the edge there. It's not on the floor. Okay, number one. I can get my shoulders back. I can get my blanket under my skull, not under my neck. Okay, just feel that support, feel the angle. You decide how low your blanket is going to be. You be the decider. Okay, but find a belt and buckle it up so you've got a big loop. Got a big loop. Okay, now with the knees moving up, feet off the floor, of course, we're going to scoop up the feet and just direct them straight up to vertical. Okay, so think on verticality. So when I lift the legs up, I can feel inner wise, right? Inner wise through my legs when I'm pulling on the feet. There is a different satisfaction than if I don't, right? I just kind of have them neutral. So you, again, get to decide, but have them close together for these first few moments. Pull, feel that you can just let the arms engage at the biceps. You can tug a little bit on the belt. You can feel the neck traction. Feel the belly move with breath. Feel the arch to the lower back. And just feeling, where should this belt be on my feet? Should it be a little bit higher? Should be a little bit lower. Do a little loofahing on your feet for why not? Okay. And when you're pulling, how does the tail feel? Hopefully it's enough on the edge that you don't feel back stuff going on. You feel leg stuff. Okay, lots of leg stuff. All right, now bend your knees, hold firm, but push the feet out wide. Okay, now your belt loop might be too wide. So you want to make it so it's a reasonable, what is a reasonable range of motion? It's not so shaky. So I find if you have the shakes or the jitters on this one, you just hold your belt. That seems to help a lot on the resistance. But if you're confident without holding, again, you don't have to go as far out as possible. Okay, I'm just showing that it is a wide stance with my legs and my feet in the belt. And then the arms could set out to the side at the level of the heart or below. Okay, not above, right? Level of the heart or below. So just letting the heart rate lower, calming the nervous system, feeling the belly move. You know, scanning awareness, right, from where the belt sensation is on the feet, how the feet generally turn in a little bit here. They pivot a little bit, and the side of the leg. I mean, you might not feel muscle response or that sensation of pulling kind of at the muscle belly. It might just feel like that fluid shift is going down towards the leg pits and the heart. It's hard to sense the part to the heart, but that's what this mainly does, right? Is reverse the flow back, reverse the effects of gravity right on the heart. The blood goes back without it having to pump it down. Okay, so a heart happy pose. So as you bend through your legs, you're going to reach up to the belt if you haven't already and pull so the feet go together. Okay, lower the left leg down and start to set up for brain float. Okay, now when I have this small, it's just kind of not big enough loop here, I'm going to loosen it up And then I just kind of measure that if my leg, I think, is straight up, it's about to the crown of my head, just about. Okay, that's probably the perfect. But first thing, I'm going to get my sandbag. I kind of go back and forth on the belts around the back of the head, then the sand or the sand first. They're both fun. Okay, but I'm going to add my sand to the top of the left thigh. So the traction of the legs, right? If I have this leg already set down with the sand, likely when I pull this leg, now it's going to be in the right balance once I get the belt to the back of my head. Because when this pushes down, this doesn't necessarily go back. We want it to, but it might go the opposite way. So, kind of play with your levers, lever play, not liver play, lever play. But when I have that left leg extending, my core is lifted. It's a really happy core right now working. And my left leg is it's going to pivot out, right? So instead of trying to be forceful and put it in put my heel on something like a block, that sometimes seems good, but it would hyperextend back of my leg, right the knee. So I like to put my left leg a little to the left side, kind of visualize the foot is straight up, find just the right destination there for my left foot, and then relax my arms open. Okay. It's okay if your arms are down by your sides, up on your bolster. Relax your wrists, or straight behind you. But just simply feel the sensation through the back of the right thigh. Breathing slow. Now you can reverse the flow back to the top of the thigh, right, with the right leg up. And the top of that left thigh is in a reach, right? You're trying to stretch through the psoas here. So feeling the movement of the breath, threading the pose. Let's take a few more rounds of breath here. Inside one. Feel if the foot pushes into the belt, if that offers you the right amount of traction. Be careful if your buckle is near your head, right? Don't have it too close. Definitely don't have it on the back of your head because it's pretty likely it will snap open. Not a good feeling when it unbuckles. So be sure it's on the side. You're just feeling that foot pushing. Switch sides. How will you switch sides so it makes physiological sense here? I just moved my sand to my core. I move the left leg up. I'm a little cautious here of the knee gesture, so I might hold the back of my head, make sure the knees are both a little bendy to come into the switch, the left foot up, the right leg down. Okay. Think about tail down versus trying to push it back. I'm just relax the tail area. Not at all trying to scoop the tailbone under at all. It's not our, no, we're not in that field here. We're in relaxing the tail. See what's natural. Place the sand on the top of the thigh, the right thigh, and then arms opening out. Yeah, even one side might feel different on how the bottom leg, even if they both try to pivot out, which is completely normal. It might feel more comfortable on one side to just let that be, less strain on the knee, So, considering if you don't feel knee sensation, you don't have to spend energy upon it. But you can also just reach the foot into the belt, feel your head traction back into the neck. Just feeling the back of the pelvis. And breathe. Just feel that lower belly in motion. It's going to be slow motion, right? Because where we're at here is that we have the pelvis suspended up on support though, but it's still, you still have to work with that, the gravity, right? The movement here with taking gravity off the spine, going upside down, the diaphragmatic movement, trying to go against gravity. It's a good inner time, right, for your circulation. And you might not be mentally feeling that, but just noticing the workings of the breath, the embodiment of the shape. Always caution with the knees, maybe even bending the left knee a little bit, even if it's muscular, but support your knee. All right, good work. So hands hold the back of your head. Now, as we take the belt off the back of our head, we'll just cross the left leg over to the right. Hold the belt with your right hand, cross the left leg over. Now, if you got a wall in your way, that's part of things in homes, right? You might have something in the way, so move yourself a little bit on the bolster if that's part of your environment. And it doesn't have to be like the fullest crossover. It could be just a mild movement of the back of the pelvis into the hip. The right leg bends. That I think is key, is the bottom leg is bending. Ease into the left hip. Okay, bending the left knee. Come back in center. And then we're going to switch the foot that's in the belt. That's all. And the right foot goes up. The left leg relaxes. Keep it a little bendy in the left knee. As the right leg is crossed over, left hand holds the belt, crossing the leg over to the left side. Feeling that sensation into the hip. Back of the pelvis, hip. Breathe. Okay, now bending your right knee. Take the belt off your foot and bring both knees to point up. Grab a ball. Place it between the knees, and then knees go side to side. Okay. So as the knees cross over, final spinal, we're kind of arriving towards that. I want you to feel that there is a bit of a swinging motion of the pelvis. Arms can be open, they could be hands on the ribs. It's really up to you. And as your legs shift, the knees are certainly bending, right? So it doesn't feel like it's like the leg is a tube, like I talked about earlier. I was kind of trying to figure that out with movement physiology. This is like the real pelvis, the bundle of the pelvis and the legs bending to help your pelvis feel all this support, right? All this weight, putting weight on it, okay? Weight bearing. That's what we're up to here. Now, as you go side to side, take a moment when you come back in center and knees to chest. And then we're going to gently push the bolster down from the back of the pelvis. Be careful, right? And then place the feet on the bolster. Now, let's do this. Let's push into, let's take the ball out, okay? Push the bolster, push the feet on it. Now, you could have your bolster at the wall. Sometimes I like that because then I don't have to kind of guess the energy I push into it. It's already contained by the wall. So I prefer that, but I'm good with this right now. So I put the ball to my left rear, but roll it under. So it's just at rear, it's not to the middle, right? It's not where they connect. And then when you have the ball to that left side of the rear, you're going to bring the knees back center, okay? Left ankle to right knee, and then move your hips side to side. And don't be surprised if this event makes a little click in the right hip. It could. It could be a little click. Okay, don't get afraid of the clicks, but feel when you're going across. This gives you a little bit of a wider movement in the back of the pelvis versus the left foot pushing on the bolster. But this isn't out of the range, right? You could stretch the left leg down. You could put the foot on the bolster and move your hips, but focus on that swinging motion I mentioned when we had the ball center of the knees. The swinging motion of the back of the pelvis into the hip. Okay. All right. And then move the ball to the right rear and going into that, crossing through the fibers, teasing the tissues. Yes, that's true. But as you're rolling, you're trying to get all the weight on the ball. So not a little bit, not hovering. Just use your weight on the ball. Like you might feel like, oh, I could pop this ball. It's pretty rare that they pop. So just give all your weight so you can get a good treatment, a good massage into the skin, crossing over that top layer, hip to hip sway, right, motion. Okay. So now if you didn't take the ankle to the knee yet, cross the right ankle to the left knee, and then feeling that movement that maybe glides to the side of the hip a little better. Maybe when your foot is to the knee. I think it does. It allows me to turn, right? So I'm taking a little bit of a kind of a minor twist. Pretty minor. Okay. And I am using my left foot to anchor me. That's for certain. Okay, now with that heat into the hip, we're going to glide down off the ball. We're going to uncross and then take the ball out from the right side. Push the bolster over to the right side of your mat. Careful on the knee movement. Just push the bolster to the right side. Relax the right knee. Swing the left leg over on top of the bolster. And then add the ball, if you have one, to the sacrum area. Okay, maybe a little bit lower to the tailbone-ish, so that whole blend there of support. And then we add that sand to the outer left thigh. Okay, now, I think sand is really helpful on this. And I like to sometimes think about just the weight on the hip proper, just that. If I move it down on the side of the leg towards the knee, I feel a little bit more balance, right? I mean, I'm feeling sensation, but I feel a little more balance sensation and kind of the muscle belly. I kind of feel, do you know where that is? Do you feel the middle of the muscle? Do you feel the ends of it? Feeling the hip stretch. Head rolls left or it stays in the center. Keeping that blanket supporting your head. Breathing slow. Okay, now head back center. Move the ball and sand. Okay, knees back center, Just keep the feet on the floor, not bring them into the chest. We're not going to hug the knees in yet. And take the bolster to the left side. And then as you take that crossover, I like the idea from one side to the next, have feet down, push into them, move my hips to the right, relax the left knee, and then swing the right leg over to the bolster. Okay, now feel, second side, you can always do a little bit of comparison, like was I on the side of the hip? How did I angle my bones? So feel from this moment where the ball goes, if it tucks into the base of the spine really easily, okay, kind of push it in there, and then feeling that you're not overstretching, okay? So right now from the get-go, I feel like I'm not overstretching. When I add the sandbag, it might take a few moments before it feels like it's kind of, penetrating into the leg, into the muscle belly. I can feel that. So, not doing too much, right? Feel like you've got just the right, you're in the middle path here with the pose. It's not too much, it's not too extreme. It's just a nice way to bring some circulation into these areas that we could use some healing and regenerating. So keep it real simple, not overexerting. In fact, you could be here for a while, right? So when you're resting your head back, maybe some of these shapes that we explore, you can explore other times. You can maybe just pick a couple of them that you can do almost daily that feel that they have some benefit, right, to your back, your hip, all the important areas for care, all of it. And your head might roll to the right and might stay right, smack dab in the middle. Breathing. Feeling that deeper twist by breathing deeply. You move the ball, then move the sandbag. And if you're going to go the legs up the wall, you can push the sand towards the wall. Okay. So what I recommend when you roll out of this is you just keep it simple, not pulling the knees to the chest, just push into your hands to come up. And then add the bolster right up against the wall edge. Now, if you decide I'm not going to do bolster at the wall, I'm going to do bolster bench, then what you'll do if you're not going to go to the wall is you'll simply have your two blocks under the bolster and a blanket on top and put your legs up on that. Okay. Another thing I'd like to do, well, from learning more recently, was that we take a bolster like this, we tip it up, we have one block under, okay? I think I might do a YouTube video on some of these new tactics. So you can, just like a short 15-minute of new stuff. And then you would take your blanket, you make a little roll here, okay? And then you'll put your legs over like this, and then your ankles are on that blanket. And you sit up right next to the block, and then you lie back with your blanket this way, okay? So that's kind of a little bit of a just short view of that. I like that a lot. I think that's a nice one. I still think that legs up the wall is the bee's knees of care, so I will go to that. Okay, but they're all good. So if you don't have a wall space to use right now, don't even worry about it. Just have your set up those two options or bolster bench, but we'll keep learning. So I'm going to sit up on the edge of my bolster and I'm going to roll my sacrum to come up, right? So sacrum roll is part of that movement. The shoulder draws under. It's just practice, 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 and it does get better. And there's no requirement that you have your seat at the wall, period. Okay, that's silly. But some of us have trained and we've done this for a while, so it's natural. If it's not feeling okay, just move your bolster a little bit away from the wall, just a little bit, and have the legs up, and maybe that feels better. It's okay to try it. All you're going to focus on is legs are lifted, whether it's on the bolster bench or it's up the wall or up on a chair, any of those things. Okay. You're reversing all the flow in this last pose back to the heart. So, final pose, legs lift up and feeling where the back establishes. You want to establish care from the pelvis to the lower back, which is they're kind of blended together pretty nicely. So first things first, is that feeling okay? And then set up with the extremities, which I think there's the limbic brain as an extremity here. So I might have my blanket supporting just from my occiput back, okay? We did some fun folds where we would like roll the blanket under the sides, kind of the ears, and kind of play with having that support, like you're cradling the head, lifting it up as if it's being held. But as you're resting your head back, feel that your neck, it still might feel tone, but see if you can relax your throat, relax your arms open, and maybe closing your eyes with an eye pillow or a little cover over them so you have that curtain of darkness over the eyes. And just settle in. Take a few moments to just find a full energy sweep of the body. If the legs are lifted, it's going to bring it back towards the belly, massaging the organs, and back to the heart, and the collarbones, and the throat, the endocrine glands in the throat. Relaxing the teeth, the tongue, the mouth. Now with a micro bend in the knees, shift the legs a little bit away from the wall if you're up on the bolster bench. You don't have to do anything with the legs yet. Just let them relax because your feet get stepped on a lot. So just let the feet have a few more moments before being stepped on. Bend your knees and then remove the sand off to the side. Hug the back of the thighs and rock a little side to side. Okay, just feel how the back of the pelvis They might have a little bit of pressure if you have your legs up the wall, because this is pushing into the kidneys. If you're with the bolster bench, it's not so much, but you do find a little massage across the kidneys. Okay. And then as we all bring the knees into the chest, you're going to roll to the side and rolling and coming up to sitting. Okay, take a seat on bolster or blanket. And if you're next to the wall, sit right up against the wall and bring the shoulders down. Let the arms relax. No lift of the hands right now. Just feel the neck placement up. And I kind of feel that that is connected to the spine, of course, but you know, sometimes the different weaving of the spine into the body and then the neck body, just feeling the brain, let your head tip to the side, stretching through the side of the neck, just tipping your ear over, just gentle neck stretch. And then all the way slowly to the other side. Come back and center. Bring your arms open. Inhale the breath, arms reaching out, hands open. And as we exhale,